If you're looking to celebrate Mardi Gras this year with a king cake, you've come to the right place. So tradition says that a king cake is a sweet, ring-shaped pastry traditionally eaten through Mardi Gras. It's usually made from a cinnamon dough and decorated with purple, green, and gold sugar or icing that represents justice, faith, and prosperity. Inside the cake, there's often a small plastic baby hidden. Whoever finds the baby is expected to buy the next king cake or host the next party. Today, we're making a king cake. The ingredients you'll need for the king cake dough are 7 grams of instant yeast, 3 ounces of brown sugar, 18 ounces of all-purpose flour, 6 ounces of whole milk or 3/4 cup, 5 ounces of butter, and 2 large eggs at room temperature. The first step will be to add the flour, brown sugar, and yeast to a stand mixer attached with a dough hook and mixed until it's well blended. Now the instant yeast is perfectly okay just to mix in with the flour mixture. You don't need to proof it in a bowl of water or anything like that. So I've taken the milk and butter out of the microwave. There are some still chunks of butter in there that I'm mixing in. I want to make sure that it's 110 degrees, not anything over that, because over that could end up killing the yeast in your dough. So I've incorporated my milk and butter mixture into the mixer. It's mixing in with the flour and yeast. Now I'll add my eggs and salt. It's looking like a beautiful dough. Okay, so our dough has been going for a full 15 minutes and looks very good. So the next step would be to cover it with plastic and set it in a warm place for about an hour to let the dough rise. So I've covered the dough with plastic wrap, and I'm going to put it in a cold oven with the light on and let it rise. While the king cake dough continues to rise, I'm going to go ahead and make the frosting and divide it into 3 different colors. First, I'll measure out 16 ounces of powdered sugar, 3 tablespoons of butter. We'll put in 1/4 cup of buttermilk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract. And we'll mix it up until it's very well combined. Okay, it's starting to come together, but it needs a little bit more liquid. So I'm just going to add a little bit of buttermilk. You want this to be almost a drizzle consistency, so I'm going to add just a tad of water. Okay, so that is actually a stiff consistency, but I'm also going to be adding food coloring to it. So I'll be able to adjust the consistency with the food coloring or maybe a little additional water if needed. So I'm dividing it evenly among the 3 bowls. And this will be for our king cake traditional color for Mardi Gras, which is green, purple, and gold. Don't have purple, but I'm going to make purple by using a little blue and red. Kind of looks more gray than purple. So the next one will be green. Now that's a real color. That's green. The last one will be yellow. So the green and the yellow came out pretty good. I'm not sure about my purple. We'll go with it though. I may have to cover it up with some sprinkles. So my dough is ready to be rolled out. I'm going to flour my board. Then I will shape it out into a rectangle. I want to roll it into about a 10 by 20 rectangle. If you have some little crevices, just try to close them up with your fingers and roll it out. Okay, that's actually a pretty good size. It's almost the size of my board. And I think that's going to do it. So next, we'll prepare our filling. For the king cake filling, we have half a cup of sugar, a half a cup of brown sugar, a half a cup of butter, 3 tablespoons of cinnamon, and a pinch of salt. So you want your sugar butter filling to be soft and spreadable. So I'm going to pop it in the microwave, warm it up a little bit, where I can stir it up and it'll be spreadable. Okay, now it's well combined. Just going to do this. Make sure it's even all around. So when we roll it up, this will be the filling. And if you've ever made cinnamon rolls, it's kind of like gooey, cinnamony flavor. Okay, now you want to roll this loosely. So just start from the long side. Just roll it up loosely. You want to give it a little room to expand. And then when you get to the end, you'll want to pinch those ends together so it makes a seal. Just like that. I'm going to hide it on the bottom. So you'll see the ends are kind of uneven and they won't make very good, there won't be much filling there. So I'm going to get rid of those. And then I'm going to make it into a circle and pinch it together. So now it's made into the typical king cake shape. I'm going to transfer it to the baking sheet. I've lined my baking sheet with parchment paper. And I'll lay it over here. Okay, now I've shaped my dough into the typical king cake shape. Now what you want to do is set it aside in a warm place for at least 30 minutes and let it rise. Okay, now the king cake has risen and we've formed it and it's risen for 30 minutes. Now the next step is to cut some vents in the top. So we'll take either a very sharp knife. I'm going to use a pair of very clean kitchen shears and cut some vents at the very top. This will let the steam out. If you don't do this, your cake could explode. So next we're going to put it in the oven for in a 350-degree oven for 30 to 40 minutes. It needs to be golden brown when you take it out. Okay, now the king cake is out of the oven. It's hit 190 degrees. I took with an internal temperature. It's well browned all around. So now we're going to let it cool and then we'll frost it. Okay, now the king cake has cooled off a little bit. It's not completely cool. So what I'm going to do, actually I'm just going to ice it on the cooling rack, I think. So the colors on the king cake indicate, or they signify, purple is for justice, green is for growth, and gold is for prosperity and wealth. It's traditional to insert like a little plastic baby, and then whoever finds it is responsible for bringing the cake next year or throwing a party. So I don't have a little plastic baby, but I'm going to use a pecan. I'm going to insert the pecan and then decorate with the traditional colors: yellow, green, and purple. So I'm going to cover that up. It's still a little bit warm. And just alternate your colors. And then after we spread on the frosting, we will also put on some sprinkles of similar colors. Okay, there's the yellow. Okay, now we're going to do some semi-purple frosting. It's actually looking a little more purple than it did in the beginning. Okay. Now we're going to take some sugar This is just your typical sanding sugar. So for the yellow, I'm going to go over the yellow parts and the green. And I didn't have any purple. I'm just going to use white for the purple. Okay, let's give this a taste test. It's a beautiful filling. Ooh, full of cinnamon, nice and moist in there. Let's see what it tastes like. Like a really good cinnamon roll with a crunchy top. Highly recommend. Hopefully you celebrate on Mardi Gras and have a good Mardi Gras season.